Hi there, Malcolm here for my 336th Booktube video, and today I'll be bringing you a review for Alita, Battle Angel, Iron City by Pat Cadigan, and read to me by Brian Nishi. This is the official prequel to the film. For those who don't know, Alita Battle Angel was originally a manga, and then it was turned into a live-action mocap special effects extravaganza on the big screen in a world of cyborgs. Most people have either augmented themselves in some particular way, or they've got an artificial arm, or there's not much left that is original, and they're pretty much all mechanical, save for like their brain or something that keeps them still human, as opposed to an automaton. Quite an exciting film, I really enjoy it. Been waiting for the sequel for far too long. I've been working my way through Dungeon Crawler Carl. Just finished book 2, but needed a new credit to do book 3. Had to wait a few days for the next credit to come through. And so I had a look to see what was free, and this one caught my eye, so I thought I'd give it a go. And what I thought worked with the book was it really does extend the world of Iron City. This city on the ground that is basically built out of junk, where people live out their lives in the shadow of the glorious Zolom, the floating city, the last floating city of a bygone age, where only the best of the best, the elitist, get to live, while those in Iron City grabble about in the dirt. And this book really fleshes out Iron City as a living, breathing organism. We mostly follow Edo Dyson, who was once of Zolom City until his exile, along with his wife and daughter. And the story really does lay thick the whole classist system in where the elite is for the elite and they have to be perfect. And unfortunately, Edo and his wife's child, although perfect in their eyes by the high standards of Zolom, because she's not a particularly healthy child, because she's disabled, she's not suitable for that great city. And as parents who have produced this less than suitable child, the three of them are exiled down to Iron City. And whereas his wife wants nothing more but to go back to regain what she's lost, Edo, not necessarily happy with his lot, has at least accepted the reality of it and is doing the best he can. He's opened a free clinic to treat cyborgs with their ailments, of which there are many, by day, and at night he takes on the mantle of hunter-warrior, or bounty hunter as we would know them, to go and track down nefarious beings with bounties on their heads, collect said heads, and then cash those in and uses that money to keep his clinic running. And the other main character we follow is Hugo. He's a street rat, he runs with a gang, but he also hangs out at Edo's place, helps out occasionally, and Edo does try and impart some wisdom onto this young man. But he works with the head honcho of Iron City, Vector, who also controls Rollerball, the main sporting event of the area, and his cybernetic players always need new parts, and he uses Hugo to source them, generally by grabbing cyborgs off the street and stripping them of the parts that are needed. But we do get a lot of backstory about Hugo, the family he grew up in, not necessarily excusing why he does what he does, but giving us his path to this point where really in Iron City there are two options, being the predator or being the prey. Unless you're someone like Edo who can operate a free clinic, and even he is not untouchable. We do follow some of the other characters. We do follow his wife a bit, whose name I never actually catch, really annoyingly. She runs off to Vector, bringing her expertise in cybernetics, which either rival or are better than Edo's. And Vector himself, as he tries to manage his city and his team, and Hugo. So yeah, that's what I thought worked really well. It gives us a nice backstory of these characters, how they got to be in the positions they're in. Although I would say if you were to read this before you saw the film, there are a couple of spoilers. There's the fate of Edo's daughter, for example. We don't find that in the film until a bit later on. And Hugo running with this crowd of cyborg snatchers, we don't find that straight away. You know, that's revealed a lot later on in the film as well. This is where I struggled with the existence of this book. Who is this book for? Because as a prequel, it's supposed to have leading up into the film, whereas like I say, it's got spoilers for the film, so if you read this and then watch the film, it's like, well, you've told me those big twists, thanks. And this is my big issue with a lot of prequel type stuff, because of the film, you know where the characters are going to be at the start of the film. And about 2 hours into this book, the characters were already there. Now, it's not hugely, it's about 8 hours or so. But that meant 6 hours. I thought, well, what's going to happen in 6 hours? Nothing's going to change because everyone's where they're going to be at the beginning of the film. And okay, there's a subplot dealing with a super chip, a sports personality called Chase, who don't feature in the film, and so that's got to be wrapped up within the confines of the story. And there's a couple of jobs that Hugo and his team go on, which are somewhat challenging to them. But again, that's all going to be wrapped up by the film, because they don't feature in the film. They get up to other stuff. And there was also a really interesting character who was able to change the shape of her face, and I assume different identities, who I didn't remember from the film. So she was going to not get through to the end of the book. Not necessarily die, but it's a case of you've introduced this really interesting character that we're not going to go forward with. And even a thing with a drug dealer that Hugo is able to get on the good side of. And you think, oh, and I thought this could be an interesting avenue to develop, but again, not in the film. What's the point? Yeah, what was the point of this book? I mean, as a story, it went all right, but like I say, the big reveals about the daughter, about Hugo, already knew from the film. And a lot of the other things I was able to work out from what happened in the film. And apart from, like I say, self-contained little adventures, like I say, about this super chip and about Chase and about certain marks that Hugo goes and collects on, there's nothing lasting that's new in the book to go forward with. And of course, I need to say, Alita doesn't feature in this at all. She's discovered at the beginning of the film. Although the book does end with Ido in the junkyard. He does go there several times during the course of the story. So he is physically in the location where we find him in the beginning of the film. He's not found Alita yet. In fact, it might not even be on this particular occasion. I thought the narration was really good. It was a bit soft-spoken. I normally listen to this while I'm driving or washing up or cooking or something. And even the sounds of doing these menial tasks sometimes buried his voice. But no, I have no complaints about how he read it. I thought he did a rather good job. Probably worth reading if you like the film. I've not read the manga, so I don't know how it ties into the manga, if at all. I know the mangas generally follow Alita herself. And of course, because Alita's not in this is all probably new material, even compared to the manga. But I say, I can't see how this book can justify its existence. It adds nothing to the film. It spoils some things if you're going into the film, and it doesn't feature the titular character at all. I mean, I had hoped we'd get a bit of that backstory from her, because during the film we do have some flashbacks of her in this battle where she gets presumably damaged in the first place, and a little bit about that life, but no, none of that. However, it wasn't nonsensical, it wasn't boring particularly. You know, the little things that were happening were intriguing enough, even though I knew the likely outcomes, due to the fact that everyone survives, that we know about who from the film anyway. And I'll say the extra characters, although interesting, they weren't that pivotal, they popped up every now and again. So I'd say, if you're fans of the film, it's probably worth reading. If you've never seen the film, this won't change your mind to go and watch it, to be honest. Yes, it's got an interesting look on the class system, or those with versus those without, and how those with ensure that those without never get, because what's the point of having everything if those without get it too? Wrapped up in a story about cyborgs. Yeah, I thought the cyborg aspect was quite interesting. It didn't really go down too deep into that aspect. I mean, when Hugo's father started replacing parts of himself so he could perform better in the factory, he had issues with the fact that his dad no longer had his own arm or his own legs. You know, it was this whole, I used to my father if you've been replaced by machines, and he would have nightmares about he's been replaced as well. And with Ido's nurse, who's also got a cybernetic arm, there was an interesting discussion about, you know, which one feels real. She said, well, this always felt, it's my arm. I never saw it as a prosthetic. It's just my arm. But there were sort of throwaway lines, really. It didn't really delve too deep into the philosophy behind body replacement, really. So there we go. Alita, Battle Angel, Iron City, the official movie prequel. Have you read it? What did you think about it? Did you like the film? Or the manga? Or what's your favourite story featuring cyborgs? I don't count Terminator as a cyborg, because to me the human part has to be the intelligence part. Otherwise it's just a machine covered in meat. Comments down below please, but as usual, if there's nothing nice to say, then please keep it to yourself. Thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe and other YouTubey things if you want. Until next time, see you later.